Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG meta deck lists. So today we have something a little bit different. First of all, it's different because we haven't yet featured Invoked, and secondly, it's different because this comes from an OTS event in Canada. So this is the first place deck list from the Strictly Single Sports Cards OTS. After 8 rounds of play, Angus managed to win first place, and what we'll do is you do the typical thing of going through the deck, then running through the matchups that he faced, and we'll get him on the phone to talk a bit about the deck. So we start off with triple Alistair, triple Blue Sky, triple purple Nightfall, 1 Red Moon, and 1 Indigo Eclipse, 3 Ghost Ogre, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Veiler, 3 Meltdown, 3 Invocation, 3 Mind Control, 3 Terraforming, 3 Scapegoat, 2 Desires, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Upstart, and 1 Raigeki. For the extra, triple Macabre, double Purgatrio, 1 Elysium, 1 Linkuriboh, 1 Link Spider. So Linkuriboh obviously we don't have in the UK yet, but we'll be on the way. 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Mrs. Radiant, 1 Ib, 1 Ningirsu, 1 Decode, 1 Sayuja, 1 Borreload, and for the side, triple Lancia, triple Cyclone, triple Anti-Spell, triple Evenly, double Strike, and Judgment. So my initial thoughts on the deck, I really like the combination of Mekk-Knights with hand traps. You often see that one of these engines gets cut down a bit for the other. Specifically, you tend to lose out on hand traps for things like the Spellbook engine to get your draws in, the Third Desire, stuff like that. Then again, he's got 2 Desires instead of 3. This is mostly because if you banish your Alistair, all of your Alistairs or all of your Invocations, you lose the game. You could maybe bump this up to 3, but I think this is probably in the realm of choice at this point. Then Monster Reborn, it is typically a Ghost second deck, so you can often reborn something useful and then use its effect or just use it to beat over stuff. An Upstart Goblin to build up the consistency, and Raigeki because, again, it's a Go second deck, so no Dark Hole here or Kaiju and Slumbers and things like that. For the side deck, Lancia tends to be a thing that you see come in against Invoked, so it's interesting to see it in the deck itself. It does help it out against a couple of things. Cyclone's pretty staple, Anti-Spell is very useful against a lot of the formats. Evenly Matched doesn't really need any explanation, and we'll ask him about the Strikes and a Judgment, because those are a bit unusual. As for the rounds that he played, round 1 he played against World Chalice and 2-0'd them. Round 2 was 60 card mill, 2-0'd them. Round 3 against Gem-Knight FTK, 2-0'd them. Probably because you have so many hand traps in here that it's very unlikely that they'll actually be able to OTK you. In round 4 he played against Pendulum Magician. This was his loss, he went 0-2. This deck tends to have a pretty good Pendulum Magician matchup, so we'll ask him a bit about that. Round 5 against Altergeist, he drew, went 1-1. In the top 8, he went against Gem-Knight FTK, 2-1. Top 4 against Altergeist and 2-0'd them. And in the finals, he went up against Trickstar and 2-0'd them. So he faced quite a few grindy decks, which is actually one of the harder things to face with this kind of deck, because you don't want your opponent to out-resource you. Typically, Invoked are really good at managing their resources well, but you can often find that it can be a bit of a struggle to utilize everything to its full capacity. So kudos for doing so well in the grind games. So with that all said, let's get Angus on the phone and give him a quick chat about this deck. Hi Angus, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thank you. So, congratulations on your first place OTS deck. How was
Thanks.
the event?
It was good. So it was like at our normal locals, but we had more people show up.
Okay, yeah.
So it was around probably 30, about that, I think.
Yeah, and you played quite a lot of rounds given that it was only about 30 people, right? I mean, that's still significantly more than a typical locals thing, but...
Yeah, so our usual locals, it's 3 rounds or 4 rounds then top cut, but we played 5.
Yep.
And then we went top 8, top 4, and then finals.
Yeah, and you smashed every single one of those.
Yeah, apart from one round, but it was more due to brick hands, which is very rare with the deck, but it does happen.
Well, let's take a quick look at the deck itself. So you played the Mekk-Knight engine with the hand traps alongside it,
Yeah,
which is quite a nice mix of, I think, of both of them together, because often you see when people play Mekk-Knights, they don't play so many of the hand traps and they focus more on like other cards to just either extend or do other things. But I think having the option of both allows you to combat a lot of different options. Did it
yeah,
all
it
work
does.
out okay?
Yeah, it did. I don't think I would change anything with any of the ratios.
Okay.
I found more so my locals, like I'd say like at a bigger tournament, the deck would perform a lot better.
Yeah.
Just because I had a good match against Pendulum Magician, which was funny because my only loss.
Yeah.
But like having the 9 hand traps helps a lot, and sometimes I'll even have 12 siding in Lancia. And then along with the Mekk-Knights, especially when you're going second, you want to have like Mekk-Knights are really good going second, and so are hand traps, just because you can interact with your opponent when they're going first. And then turn 2 Mekk-Knights, I found I was using more for like baiting out stuff almost,
Okay. Yeah.
just so I could remove most of their like hand traps and just reactionary things, just so I could use my Alistair and get his effect off.
Yeah. So it's kind of like an engine to force out your opponent's good cards so that you can then play your best cards.
Yeah, and if they don't, then I just get a bunch of free beaters, and I ended up usually OTKing.
Yeah.
Because they just like, especially when you get Blue Sky out, and then you search out Indigo, summon Indigo, move them over if you get the second search for another Mekk-Knight, and it's just about like almost 8,000 damage with those 3 cards.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
So with the rest of the deck, I think a lot of the invoked decks that I've seen recently are playing triple invocation. So how did you find it playing 3 then?
So this was actually my first tournament using 3 Invocation.
Yep.
Before I was always running 2, just because it's always like I didn't like having the third, because I always found I would open 2 or like open 1 and then Alistair and always get my search off.
Yeah.
But especially now, even though it's short printed, Ash in the new Kaiba collection,
Yeah.
I found more budget players actually had hand traps. And with the Veiler being more popular now, especially, it's good against Alistair. Like, it's really good against my whole deck. So when I would normal summon Alistair to get the search out for Invocation, they'd always end up Veilering it. Like, they'd always have it, and it really sucked. But the 3 Invocation was awesome because, one, I hate Desires. Like, I love the card and I hate it because I would always banish my Invocations or my Alistairs.
Yep.
But with the 3rd Invocation, I always opened it when I needed it or when they had the Veiler, which was super awesome.
Okay.
I didn't find any issues bricking with it because the card ended up always being useful. Like, you get out an extra Purgatrio or another Macabre. Yeah, it was just, I really liked it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you mentioned Desires as well, how like you love and hate the card, because I mean, often when you see people have smaller hand trap lineups, they play the 3rd Desires, which can be a bit of an issue sometimes because you really need Alistair in this deck so much.
Yeah. So I was like, this list is almost like, it's a very basic list. It's like super cookie cutter build. Like, you can definitely add your own little spice to it. Like, I think there was one deck I saw that was running, but I took out Evenly Matched from the main deck and like put in a few other cards.
Yeah.
And the whole, I wasn't running Desires originally. I was running the Spellbook engine.
Okay. Yep.
But I decided to go with the 3 Invocation and the 2 Desires, because I think if you're playing 2 Invocation, then you shouldn't be running Desires, just because of the chance of you opening Desires and then not opening away to Alistair.
Yeah.
And then having the chance to just blind Desires and banish both your Invocations.
Yeah, it's just too much of an issue when you have a 40 card deck to deal with.
Yeah.
How was Raigeki in the main?
It was really good. I opened it twice the whole day.
Okay.
And both times I was going second, and both times they didn't have a response for it, so that was pretty awesome.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah. It was the one card, that and Upstart Goblin, I found I was siding out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly Raigeki would be sided out because I'd be going first.
Yeah.
But it was an easy side out. It was also just a great card to use when I did open it. Like, it's not really ever a bad card. So
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, especially because you're trying to, well, unless you're OTKing with Mekk-Knights, I assume you're trying to slow down the game a bit more. So
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
make your
want them
white
to slow
horses
down at
good.
my pace, almost like a paleo.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you could say Magical Musketeers if you saw Ed's deck profile on
Yes,
that as well.
yeah, yeah. I used played that deck a little bit too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
For the extra deck, you're playing 3 Macabre. We've seen a lot of people play 2. Do you think that the third is
Yes.
justified?
So I was gonna play a Proxy Dragon
Yeah,
instead of the third Macabre,
as like
but
a mind control usage thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But I ended up. So speaking of Magical Musketeer, Magic Bullet River, the one person that I was actually the matchup I was scared of that day was there was one player who was playing Magic Bullets. He ended up not
Okay.
even topping the event.
Yeah.
But I played him last week, and every single time, we just kept grinding against each other because they're both super grindy decks.
Yep.
And I would be down both my Macabres already, and I'd just be like, well, shit, I need my third one.
Yeah.
Like, so, I really liked having the third Macabre. I never ran in the OTS. I never ran into a place where I need it, so you could definitely cut it to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not needed at 3. But I was mainly just for the one matchup I was scared of. I didn't even play him.
Yeah.
But
it
it was
happens
that,
sometimes.
that's
like
what I was
so.
scared. Yeah, yeah, and I like it was a bigger tournament than I thought it was going to be because our locals is fairly small. I guess I don't know,
Yeah.
but I find it's fairly small.
Okay. The one that I've got here in Oxford is probably smaller. We get about 7 people.
Oh wow!
Depending.
I guess my local's big.
Depend-
I don't know.
No, I think it's just our one's really tiny.
Yeah.
So the extra roll looks pretty solid. Very similar to a lot of lists that we've seen. Did you ever resolve the Ningetsu with Ib?
Yes. Yeah. I was playing in my, I believe it was semifinal match.
Yep.
Yeah. I was against Altergeist.
Yep.
We ended up going through 5 scapegoats.
Okay.
Yeah, and it became just super grindy. Like his deck was, I wouldn't say it's bad, but like it's definitely not.
It's not good yet, right?
Yeah. When they get their new card coming out, it's going to be fairly good.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But he opened skill drain, like I think he was playing Macrocosmo. He just opened all his floodgates all day, so that's basically why he ended up topping. He's definitely not a bad player. Like he knew what he was doing. But anyway, so we went through 5 scapegoats, and it got to the point where basically Ebe and Ninjutsu were like the only 2 cards in my extra deck.
Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up making those. I made Ninjutsu, killed his protocol, like the trap for them.
Yep.
And then I was able to chain Effect Veiler to his. There's like an Altergeist who's almost like a Kieran.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to chain my Effect Veiler to that to get the Light of my Grave for Macabre.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up just beating him down with a Ninjutsu.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it does have quite a reasonable attack stat. For
I used it that game. Yeah, he's pretty strong in the grind game, especially against Altergeist.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
The side deck, so we haven't had Invoked come on top deck before, so I haven't seen many of the side decks for them. How was Lancia for you? Because
yeah, it's usually sided against me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The issue with it is I only sided it in. I think I sided it in against who was it? Oh, Gem Knights.
Oh, okay.
Apart from that, I didn't side it in, but I found when I did, I would only side it in if I knew I was going second.
Yeah.
Because the issue, especially with all hand traps, like for example, Magician, most builds aren't playing like any hand traps.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to open them; they want to open all their combo cards.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lancia was really good against Gem Knights because they banish a bunch of their cards.
Yeah, they need to banish
so I can
fusion and block dragon and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. And it's like I don't want to get FTK'd, so I was like,
yeah.
Screw it, more hand traps. And Lancia worked out in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd keep it in the side deck though, just because I do feel like if I go to a bigger tournament, like I'm probably going to nationals, so
Okay.
when I go to Nats, I don't even know if I'm playing the deck, but I might play Invoked Mekk-Knight
Yeah.
because it's a very strong deck, but I don't know if Lancia is going to be in the side deck or not.
Do you know what you think it might become, or are you still undecided on that?
Uh, I really kind of regretted not having Twin Twister.
Yeah.
Just because I also think like if you're going to another tournament with this deck, Twin Twister is a very good side as well because it's good against True Draco Demise.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I was also the weekend before this I was testing Hatronade in my side deck because it's good against a lot of back row decks.
Yep.
And especially when you're like the MVP of my deck was Purgatrio. He's friggin' broken.
Yep.
But like if you just Hatronade them, they don't have any battle traps to stop your Purgatrio. Maybe like an Honest in hand or something, but
Even that's a bit rare, right?
yeah, it is. Like Trickstar, I don't think even plays it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just like bounce all their spells and traps back to their hand. I mean, they have the chance to respond, but if you have an empty board and just activate it, and they don't, then you just usually end up OTKing them,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
I think that's one of the nice sort of versatile bits of the deck is that you have the option to OTK as well as enter a grind.
Yes. Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool. I think running 3 Cyclones is pretty standard. Anti-spell. Did that do any work for you today? Sorry,
So
yesterday?
I was hoping it would give me would do some work, but the issue against the Pendulum player I played against, I didn't draw well at all
Yeah.
in either of our games. I drew my first hand was like 3 Blue Sky, 2 Nightfall, and a Magical Meltdown, which he ashed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a bit rough.
So yeah, it was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
And then game 2, he said I could go first because he knew
Yep.
what deck I was playing. So I sided them in, and I didn't open any of them.
Yeah.
But it's still a great card. Again, in Invoked, it can still be kind of difficult because if you flip it up, and then the rest of your hand is mediocre, and then say next turn you get like a Magical Meltdown or a Terraforming,
Yeah.
or an Invocation or an Alistair, like you're not going to be able to go through your combos right away.
Yeah. Yeah, anything
but
that
I
turns
think-
a bad hand into a good hand is kind of a spell, really, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's I found a lot of the time for like Lancia and Fragrance especially, it was more like a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
But it was like definitely I would keep Anti-Spell Fragrance. It's like one of the best side deck cards of the format.
You just win games with it if you
Yeah.
do see it. That's
Oh yeah, you go first against Pendulum Magician, flip it up, and they don't have Cosmic Cyclone or Twister to respond.
yeah, it's just game.
Yeah.
Evenly. I mean, everyone's playing evenly in the side now.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's just such a great card. You went with Double Strike and Judgment for the last 3.
Yeah, so
Yeah, go.
it was for going first.
Mhm.
Because I found that a few of the cards in my deck, like Raigeki, Upstart Goblin, I always sided out. I don't think I ever kept it.
Yeah.
And I believe Monster Reborn was in the deck too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so those were the 3 I would usually end up siding out going first, and I'd always side in the 2 strikes and the Judgment.
Yeah.
The reason it wasn't 3 strikes is because I just think Judgment's better.
Mhm.
I think most people would agree on that.
Yeah.
And I actually rarely went first, even though I would always opt to go second.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I played against they were either playing like a deck that had to go first, like Magician or Gem Knight.
Mhm.
So you kind of have to always opt to go first with that deck. I mean,
Yeah, that's
Magician, not really, but most of the time you want to go first.
Yeah, I think.
So I rarely sided them in, but I really liked having Solemns.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'd change that.
And I think that's pretty much everything for the deck itself.
Yep.
So the matchups we've gone through already. How was I assume the Wild Chalice player either bricked or failed to put up a combo because he had so many hand traps.
Yeah, so that was that's what I liked about the deck. I found when I played against World Chalice and any deck like that most of the time, especially with how many hand traps I played, I would just be able to stop them in their tracks and their combos, and especially more so with World Chalice and Gem Knight and other decks, is when you know where to stop them in their combo. It's really important.
Yeah.
So like for example, I most of the time, so I'll use Pendulum Magician as an example. For example, when they Pendulum Call, discard a card,
Yeah.
you're gonna always almost want to Ash that because it's a -2 for them.
Yeah.
So like, I found one game, first game against the World Chalice player, he didn't open that well, but it was a decent hand because I mean he opened Venus.
Yeah.
And he opened Venus and Brilliant Fusion, which I guess is pretty decent.
Yeah. That's
So he normaled Venus, I Veilered it, and then he activated Brilliant Fusion, and I Ashed it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that makes it a bit rough for him at that point.
yeah, he kind of just he passed the turn, obviously. Like he's not going to just scoop round one. Then I just ended up, I had, I believe, a Mekk-Knight and a Magical Meltdown in hand, along with, I can't remember what the other card was, but I think it was like a Monster Reborn or something. And I ended up just building a board that was hard for him to contest after already going through 2 of his 5 cards.
Yeah, especially like if he's playing on 4 cards and then trying to deal with things like Macabre, it's just
Yeah,
a bit
exactly.
rough.
Yeah.
Just looking at the rest of it. So the Altergeist were after Pendulum Magicians. I assume the Altergeist was the next hardest matchup in round 5.
Yes. Yeah. So he actually, which was really funny, his record, he didn't lose a single game up until I played him in top 4.
Yeah.
He tied 3 of his 5 matches. I was one of them. And the main issue was, it was just, his deck is just it's so grindy. And I know playing my deck, like we both can grind it out.
Yep.
And as long as I open well, like I open pretty mediocre against him. But as long as you open well against Altergeist, you're more than likely going to win.
Yeah.
Just because your deck is just flat out better.
Yeah. And you can also put bigger bodies on the board a lot more easily.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if they don't open Protocol and they open their monsters, then it just loses to your deck because you have so much negation for everything. So I just found and Scapegoat was really, really good in those matches, because it just wins grind games.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just found I was just I didn't really know. Also in Swiss, that was my second time playing against Altergeist, so I kind of forgot half the cards.
Yeah.
So I ended up losing game 1 because of that, because I forgot what Protocol did.
Yeah.
Which that card's friggin' broken. That deck's gonna be really cool.
Would you consider playing that then in the future?
Maybe it's more of a stun deck, and I like more control based decks. But if it ends up being the best deck, I'll probably play it at some point.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun deck though. It looks really fun. It looks like, compared to other stun decks I've seen, it definitely looks more interactive. For you anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was the tie was mainly just because we went into time and he won game 1 because I misplayed against Protocol, because I can send a monster or something like that.
Yeah.
It did something to kill one of my monsters, and I didn't know that. And then game 2 ended up winning because I understood what the card did.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's everything we need to go through. Are there any other comments you want to make on the deck quickly?
Deck's really good. I recommend it to anybody that enjoys a control deck. I think apart from Pendulum Magician, it's probably the best deck of the format. Oh, True Draco is really good too, but
yeah,
it's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. Really enjoy the deck. Recommend it to anybody.
Great. All right, thanks very much for coming on. Best of luck with Nationals when you go, and
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.